Episode 75. Big, thick energy. Introducing Michael Coumas on the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. With me, your host, Martin Colton. So, Mike.
Let's get to it.
Michael.
Yes, sir.
Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Yeah, how we doing?
I'm good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
That's quite all right. Thank you for joining me on the BTS Creative Academy podcast.
Yeah.
We're in the episodes in the 70s now.
I know. I've been seeing. I've been following on Instagram, just like chipping in every now and then.
Yeah.
I was listening to Sean's episode this morning.
Yeah, mutual friend.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sean was like, "Yo." When I saw him do it, I was just like, this is something that I'd like to get into. I've never done like an official podcast before. One of my really good mates, instantly, he's also called Mike. He has something called the Don't Be Mike Show, and I did that like way back in lockdown.
Okay.
But since then, we both kind of just deviated from career-wise. I don't think he's still running the show anymore because like his career's just taken off, influencer-wise. But yeah, when I spoke to Sean about it, he was just like, "Yeah, I'll speak to Martin." And obviously, like, yeah, now we're here. So
yeah, and
it's good to be here.
Checked out your social media, up to some really interesting things.
Yeah, I do a bit of this and that.
A bit of this and that. I asked you recently to describe yourself in 3 words, and what did I get? Actor, eater, lifter.
You did. Those are the 3 words. I was gonna say big thick energy, but do you know what? Like that all started, and the amount of like ridicule I get sometimes for that. And it's just like, oh, you're just trying to be funny with the obvious pun there. And I was just like, well, yeah, I am. But at the same time, like, it started, I'll tell you this, like, I came out of a bad breakup a couple of years back, and my initial like handle on Instagram was just my name, like as most people have. And it got to a point where, like, obviously working in the industry, like sometimes you just want something snappy that's you can just say to someone if they want to find you. Yes,
yeah, because you'll be networking quite a lot, won't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I remember I was at a CrossFit competition once, and a friend of mine, she's a very talented lifter. She threw like some mental weight up in a competition, and just out of nowhere, I just screamed, "Yeah, that's that big thick energy," and I was like, "Hang on a second. That's a bit of me, that."
That's me.
And then I typed it into Insta, and I was just like, there's no way someone's not already cottoned onto this. And then, believe it or not, like no one had. So then I just kind of took it, and I was like, I've always been the big guy. I've always been the one that's kind of stuck out. Like even at school, like, I got bullied for being my size, being like hairy as I am and stuff. Obviously, like having like more body hair than the average 12-year-old when you're in school. Like kids can get like shitty.
Oh, they could. Yeah, I know they can be horrible.
Kids can be horrible.
Yeah. But kids can be the worst.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And eventually I was like, you know what? Big thick energy, like it's just be yourself, be the best like positive influence of yourself you can. Obviously the thickness, because I'm a big guy and like I kind of own that. And then the energy, just bring positivity and bring happiness in everything you can do, and just try and influence that on others. Like, be happy for your friends. Like, be happy for people that are doing things that are good for people and good for themselves. Like, there's too much like people that hate on other people's success. Yeah, there's a lot of
negativity out there on the internet, and I like to think I'm trying to find a little corner of the social media, of the internet that's for good vibes, for positive vibes.
100%.
Spreading what people do out there, shining a light on your talents. And what I really want to kind of get to the bottom of with you is, I look at some of the things that you do, your weightlifting and your fitness. But you're also an actor as well, and you're a rapper. I was listening to your music today, and I was like, where do all these things where do they meet,
Do you know what? That's a really great question. And to be honest, I think it's just from growing up as a kid. Like, I went to private school, believe it or not. And it was like quite far away from my house, and like I didn't really like connect up with, because when you're like, like 10 years old, like you make mates, but like you can't really do anything. Like now, like I can't just be like, yo, let's go to the pub. Do you know what I mean? Like I can do that with my friends now. I'm 30 years old. Like I can go out and drive, and I'm independent. But at the same time, when you're a kid, like you only really have what you're confined to unless your mum can take you somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And I think just from being really young, I've always been into performing. I've always been into film, TV.
So back at school, was you performing?
Back at school, yeah. So primary school, not so much, because I don't think anyone really knows what they want in primary school.
No, you just kind of follow when you're that age. You kind of just doing what you're told,
Go.
aren't you?
Exactly,
And so some
yeah.
kids are a little bit rebellious, and some people are, you know, maybe a bit sheepish, and we're all, you know. But it comes a point like when you're in your teens, though, doesn't there?
Yeah.
Where you start to go, who am I?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think year 7, so like what, I was 10, 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I could sing, so I was like in the choir and stuff when I was a kid. Never really had singing lessons or anything like that. But the head of drama, I'm assuming like my parents on my application, like because they sell yourselves in it when you're trying to apply for a new secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Mike's done this, he's done this, he plays the piano, he was violin, whatever. And it was like the drama teacher at the time came and spoke to me and was just like, we want you to be in the school musical. Like, why don't you just audition? And like me, I was like, nah, that's not a bit of me, man. I'm just trying to keep my head down. I tell the truth, I wanted to play professional basketball. Mm-hmm. That was my life up until, you know, I was about 17, 18. Mm-hmm. And I realised...
Have you always been tall then? Have you always been one of the tall ones? Yeah,
always been the biggest kid. I think in year 7 I was like 5'11", 6 foot.
Yeah.
Huge. Obviously now, like, I've grown up playing ball as well, and there's kids at like 13 that are like 7 foot now. It's just ridiculous. It's crazy.
What have they put in the water? Like, there's something going on, isn't there?
Bro, like, I don't know what it is, but I don't know, something.
Yeah, like my son's in, he's 6'5", I think he is.
Yeah, it's like me, man. Like, I'm 6'6", so that's crazy.
Yeah, how's it happening?
I don't know, man. But
there's a long line of tall people on my wife's side. But yeah, he's massive, but there's so many kids that are massive now,
literally,
compared to what they used to be.
It's not as like I stuck out as a kid. Like, I was the biggest person in most of the school in year 7.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Whereas now that's the norm. But yeah, like I finally like got convinced, and I was just like, okay, yeah, like I'll sing and act, and I did drama outside of school anyway, just because my big sister had always done music and theatre, and my mum just kind of put us both into drama outside of school.
Well, why was she putting you into that? Why was she driving you in that direction?
Do you know what? I think my mum will say this as well. She just always wanted us to have everything like she never got when she was younger. And obviously, like, she was brought up in a different time. You know, my mum's in her 60s now, and bless her, like, when I was younger, I remember, like, being dragged around to my sister's like music shows and all this and that, and I think she just wanted to give us like a fair crack at everything. So like I was in football, she let me into basketball, like we went to Greek school obviously because you know, as a Greek kid that's just what you do. I think my mum and dad just kind of wanted us to just have every opportunity that we could, and the ones that stuck were the ones that stuck. You know, I tried millions of things growing up, but my sister and me somehow cottoned on to performing.
Right, okay.
My sister's a music teacher, drama teacher now, and she's an Amy Winehouse tribute. So I guess realistically that just kind of runs through me and her. God knows where we get it from, because mum and dad, like, they love music, but like they're not pitch perfect.
It sounds like they were giving you the opportunity to find your own way.
Literally.
Like literally by throwing all that, you know, throwing you in all these directions, they were saying, look, there's all these different possibilities for you. You find out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. No,
you find out
exactly.
which one it is.
You know, you pick it and you run with it, and like, I'm 30, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not ashamed to say I still live at home because this economy and the housing market's ridiculous, but they're not like pressuring me or anything like that. They've always like respected my career choices, and the fact that, you know, like, acting, let's be honest, in this country is not really a stable career. You know,
anywhere for anyone.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think it's something like 0.1% of actors are employed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, so where are you going to fit in that?
Exactly. And they're so patient with me, and like I say, I've got nothing but love for my parents, and realistically, like, they just, like you say, just let you find your own way. So luckily as a kid, I cottoned on to that. You know, I used to love to sing. I sang in the shower. You know, I used to joke, like, if you ain't got a soul if you don't sing in the shower. No disrespect to no one that does, but do you know what I mean? And so yeah, like, school, obviously started performing in musicals, and me being the idiot I was back then, I was just like, yo, this would be a great way to get girls. It's not, by the way, for anyone listening.
It didn't work.
Nah, it did not work.
No, because it did work for me.
Did it?
Yeah, it worked a treat for me, actually.
Maybe it was just the way
I guess timing as well.
Yeah.
can be something.
You know, I was like I said, I was an idiot.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm still doing this. like I wouldn't be doing this today if it wasn't for them early days.
No,
you know, them
literally.
early. Because I didn't have any interest. I started off like I was going to go into the army or the RAF. But then I got dragged along to a youth theatre group where my mate was the only other boy, 30 girls, And it was
This is what you think. You're like, hey, there's a lot of girls here. Maybe I can make
Yeah.
this work. Like,
Yeah.
I'll act, and there's love scenes that like you're doing like amateur shit when you're a kid. You're just
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Shakespeare, Romeo Juliet, bang, I'm in. But
it didn't work out like that.
Nah,
for
it weren't like. If anything,
No.
it went the other way. I just got ridiculed.
you. Right, okay.
Like I got beat up at school. I was just like,
Yeah. Like you say, kids are horrible, aren't they?
Yeah, they
Kids,
are.
yeah.
But you know what? Like without those people, like to mold me into whoever I was, I wouldn't be here. Do you know what I mean? Like if I didn't have to overcome like adversity, like I'm not saying I've had to overcome anything massive in my life.
But it's the time when you're setting your foundations for who you are. Like I said, in your teenage years, you're discovering who you are.
Literally everything.
And if you're getting that attack from those kids, that's going to affect who you're becoming, isn't it?
100%.
And then you've got a choice to make.
Exactly. And luckily for me, like I thank myself that I stuck through everything that kind of all the pitfalls back then. Because, like it was already enough that I was bigger than everyone else, hairier than everyone else, and I stuck out. I didn't really play football much because I wasn't good at it. So I really found my niche with basketball when I started secondary school. Started playing for a team, and then that's where my love for that like developed. And obviously, like being a kid in the UK that likes rap music and loves American culture, loves playing basketball and not really into football, and doesn't really conform to the usual like boy stereotypes. I sang. It weren't until like Zac Efron came along in High School Musical and made that cool. That
you could do basketball and sing.
Do you know what I mean? This is it. So literally, like I got beat up for stuff like that, and like I say, being different was different. But I never faltered, and I never steered the other way. Don't get me wrong. Like I took a brief detour thinking I was going to make the NBA, but when I realised I weren't getting to 7 foot, I just kind of let that go. And don't get me wrong. Like I love what I do now because of the people I meet, because of what confidence like it's given me. And like I'm very open about mental health, and I never shy away from the topic because I think personally, as a bloke as well, the more of us that speak about it quite candidly, the more people it's gonna, hopefully help.
Yes.
And I'm not ashamed to say like I self-harmed for years. Like I'm very vocal about that on my social media as well, because the way I see it, like if someone sees that and it's just like, you know what, Mike's such a charismatic person. He's full of this. He's big, thick energy. Like, if he can struggle, why can't I and still do the things I'm doing? And, like, I take that from, like, Biggie Smalls. My favourite rap album of all time is Ready to Die. And you think, this is a guy that was, like, on top of the world, like, pinnacle, and will probably go down as one of the greatest rap artists of all time. And yet, his debut album was called Ready to Die. This guy was literally like, and who knows how he was actually feeling. But when you got songs like Suicidal Thoughts on your album and things like that, it blew my mind. Kind of saved my life in a way, because I was like, you know what? If he could go through this and be Biggie Smalls, why can't I?
I'm going to tread quite sensitively here. This is a subject that's quite close to my heart as well. Not because I've self-harmed, but because someone that I love has self-harmed. So I'm still trying to discover what it is. And how we overcome it. I'm still in that process. So it's great to chat to you and like you say, hear from you, someone that's gone through that and overcome it. Are you on the other side of that now, would you say?
How many years am I? I think I'm coming up to nearly 8 years without self-harming. I usually post it like online every year, and people probably just get tired of it, and I'm no stranger to being open about it, because like you say, like there's people out there that don't really know how to handle it. And like me trying to tell my parents was the hardest thing. And it's hard for, I can imagine a parent to hear, their kids doing this to themselves and not really
Heartbreaking.
feeling. Yeah, it's horrible. And that's even worse for you as the person doing it to yourself, because you don't want to hurt the people around you.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to take it back to when you said you've got amazing parents.
Yeah.
You love your parents.
Of course.
So the link there between the harm that you've caused yourself.
Yeah.
And your parents isn't necessarily one and the same?
Nah, of course not. And I feel for me, it was like, when I was going through my worst times, like university, realistically, was when I was like a mess, just an absolute mess. When I was going through that.
Is that where it started?
I'd say it started probably just a couple of years before uni. So we're talking around probably about 16, 17 is when I first like self-harmed, like purposely. Because like, for me, like, it was never I wanted to die. Like, I don't know why. I never wanted to. Don't get me wrong. I felt like sometimes, I just don't want to be here. I'd be better off. But it was more the case of, I want to hurt myself. because I feel bad for the transgressions or whatever I built up in my head that I'd done to other people. Do you know what I mean? And realistically, I wasn't doing anything. You know, it was just a case of young love went going wrong, getting bullied at school and thinking, why am I different? Maybe I shouldn't be like this. And that's when I started to self-harm. And like, I'm quite open about it because I feel like if you can get to that and see like people that have gone through it, like I say, it's hard for people to deal with. And I always promise myself, look, if I ever get to 1,000 days without self-harming, I'll tell my parents, overcome it. And I remember telling my mum, she just broke down, bless her, because she was like, I just don't want to lose you. You know, like, my mum, like, you know, it's typical Mediterranean woman, like very emotional. You know, everything's a bit drama, but that's why we love her. But like, obviously, her hearing that, like, I'm a baby as well. She never fails to remind people, you know, at 6'6", and you know, I'm the youngest one, so obviously, like, it's heartbreaking for her to hear, and obviously for me to see that, like, it was horrible having to tell her, but. Am I glad I did? Yes, because now both my parents and my sister are very understanding, and they're very in check with how sometimes I may just not want to be spoken to. And don't get me wrong, like, I still live at home and it's hard, and don't get me wrong, I'd love to move out one day, but I'm grateful that even in their house I still have my own space and my own time to reflect. And like, I'm 30 years old, like I'm not a kid anymore, but they're very understanding with like everything I do, work-wise, and supporting me mentally and physically. Like, they're just there. They're just good people, and like I can't thank them enough for everything they have done for me and will probably continue to do for me for the next couple of years. Because eventually, like, I always say, like, manifest it. When I get to where I want to get to, if I get famous, if I become the greatest ever, like, it's going straight back to them, man. Like, it's paying them back. That's the goal.
Do you think they want paying back?
I mean, they joke all the time. It's like, hurry up and get famous, Mike. Like, I want to retire.
Get me that house.
Yeah, straight up.
Get me that car, son.
My dad's just like, hurry up, just pay my mortgage off, man.
But in all seriousness, no.
But
I don't
think they take for nothing. I'm sure my parents would be happy that I'm just around and just loving life. It's the same as my sister. Like we're all just, you know, one big family. Because we're still really close as a family. Like, my sister, she lives there. She's only a couple minutes down the road, but we still do stuff together. Like, we're really like close. I mean, I think as being a Greek Cypriot, like, that's just one of the things you get taught as a kid.
Family.
Yeah, just family values. Like, I was always around cousins. It's like, I go back to primary school, I didn't have many friends. All my mates were my cousins, my godbrother, you know, things like that. So it's always been quite tight-knit. And don't get me wrong, there's been times in my life where I haven't been the person they deserve because I've been shitting myself. And I haven't felt the need to. I've been selfish because of how I was feeling, and, you know, if I was depressed or if I was going through something, and it hurts, but, you know, it's something that you have to actively work on when you're. And I mean, I can look back and say this now, because, like I said, I'm 7 years without self-harming. I'm in a particularly good place in my life, and I can't really complain. But I do appreciate that I still have bad days. I can preach all this positive stuff, but don't get me wrong, sometimes at the end of the week, I'm like, yo, do I deserve all this?
How do I keep doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah, how do I keep the positive?
Exactly. And it's hard. And
so how do you, from having been in those dark places, how do you start to turn it around?
Initially, for me, it was writing lyrics, and it's not something I ever wanted to really do. Like, I used to just love singing. Like, you know, I love singing, love rap music, and I started writing rap lyrics when I was, I'd say, around the same time, you know, 17, 18, just coming out of GCSEs into sixth form. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I look back now at some of the stuff I've written, and obviously, like, it doesn't rhyme or anything.
But does it matter?
Nah, of course not.
Does it matter?
It was just venting, and it was a way of me almost like taking my mind off the pain, or wanting me to do something stupid for however long it was. And like, I'm lucky to have a piano at the house, so I can sit there and write. But even when I went off to uni and I was going through my tough times, I was still writing every day. Don't get me wrong, the subject matter wasn't particularly cheery, but, you know.
Again, does that matter?
Of course not.
If there's something in you that needs to get out, then isn't that a great way to let it out?
100%.
Because I'm guessing, again, tell me if I'm wrong, but doing the self-harming is because you're trying to find a release?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right?
No, 100%. That's for me anyway, because I know there's probably a lot of people that aren't like that. But for me, it was like I said, I never wanted to die. I just wanted to hurt myself.
Yeah, and I guess that you had that bad dark time when you was bullied at school.
Yeah.
And so that probably built up, and then there was probably some other things going on in your life as well to add to that.
Of course, man. Like young love's always pain.
Yes, yeah.
As everyone I'm sure will go through, and everyone's probably got kids that have been through it and whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, like I took my early relationships like in way too deep, and no one teaches you how to be in a relationship, do they?
No,
like,
no.
You don't get taught how to love. But what I perceived, or my perception of being in a relationship or being in love, was obviously just not working for the certain persons I was with. And obviously I took it to heart. And realistically, I had people around me like, Mike, we love you and all this, and you're a great person and everything. But I think it come from me writing those lyrics down and me venting kind of did me a massive favor. I always say like cliche, but like hip hop saved my life, because in a way it did. There's lyrics I look back on now, and even like I can pen these words and think to myself, like, if I didn't write the way I was feeling, it's for damn sure that evening I'd have taken a razor blade to myself again. And it's like, where I'm at now, I can say I can look back quite easily, and looking back on those years, I feel like I say, if it weren't for those times where I could just sit at the piano and write a love song, or write how I was feeling, or write something bad, or whatever it was, like whatever was up here, I could put to pen and paper, and it kind of stopped me wanting to hurt myself because the feelings are out. It's no different to having a therapy session, It's no different to me and you sitting here right now just
having a
it
chat,
up.
yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like that growing up, led me to where the fitness and the lifting came into it, and the whole CrossFit became a massive part of my life. And now, like, that has almost taken over. Without my fitness, I wouldn't be here, because again, it was another dark period of my life. I'd just come out of uni. I was the heaviest weight I'd ever been, like just out of shape. And don't get me wrong, I've always been active. I've been in and out of the gym for years, but I was playing basketball from 10 years old, and I still play at the moment. So, it's one of those things. I wasn't like stranger to the gym, but when I fell into CrossFit, and obviously I was listening to what Sean said about it, because obviously we work out at the same gym and part of the same family and stuff. But when he was chatting about it, and obviously you were saying like, it's like a massive community. You build those relationships in CrossFit, and then like, I'm not an advocate for it, or like I have no stake in it or anything like that, but
the same as what Sean said. He was like, I'm not getting, I'm not promoting it, but I love it. Yeah, and exactly. I want others to know that I love it.
100%.
And what is it about it that you love?
For me, it was just the fact that, and this sounds stupid because I joke about it all the time. I say like, regular people go to the gym to get healthy. I say I go to the gym so I don't help myself. Like, I go to the gym so I don't self-harm, because the great pain I take from working out substitutes everything else. But obviously, as now, as like, I'm a bit more mature with my head, and I'm a bit on top of it. I literally want to keep with CrossFit, because CrossFit's definition, officially, I'm going to get a bit technical here, but it's constantly varied functional movement performed at a high intensity. So basically, like, you don't know what could be happening any day. Any workout could hit you differently, and you're constantly moving and doing totally different things. And I've learned things about myself that I don't think I'd have just got out of going to the regular gym. And don't get me wrong, there's periods of time where I can't stand CrossFit and I just lose motivation, and I just want to go back to like just deadlifting 3 times a week. But I always find myself coming back to CrossFit. It's a bit more so now that I'm also a qualified coach. Okay. And I coach at another gym in Royston. So yeah, like,
so that gives you that extra drive to keep yourself fit, so to show yourself as a professional. And
of course,
so others listen to you.
Exactly, because you're teaching this movement to people that most of whom are complete beginners, and despite like a lot of us at CrossFit 424 where I train, we're all quite experienced, but we still have new people that come in, and it's like, they're seeing what we all saw for the first time, a bunch of shirtless people like throwing weights around and dropping bars, and there's chalk and there's people flying on gymnastic rigs and handstanding, and it's it's a lot to look at when you first walk into a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, it is, and it's quite intimidating, isn't it?
Very
It's quite
much
intimidating as well if you look at a room. Like sometimes you look at the stuff on social media and you're like, "God, all these people look fit. How am I going to join?"
Yeah.
Like, have you seen this guy? Where am I going to fit in there just for the way that I look? You know?
Exactly.
So how does someone new come to that then? How does someone new have that courage to walk in that door?
I think it all starts with the community and the coaches that teach them. Because for me, myself, like I was lucky enough so the guy that got me into CrossFit was a friend of mine who I'd known for several years, who was one of the PTs at the gym that I worked out at when I came out of uni. And he was like, you know what, I was the heaviest I'd ever been. Like I'd been out of touch with the gym for years. I was lifeguarding at the pool there just as a summer job. Mm-hmm. And so I got to use the gym and stuff. And he was like, yo, try these workouts, see how they go. And obviously he'd just check in every now and then. Little did I know back then it was CrossFit. And I lost God knows how much weight in one summer, and like literally like changed the way I look, like completely. Basically,
what is it about CrossFit that's different to the other types of fitness workouts? Like you say, just going to the gym, just doing a few routines, just doing a few sets. Why is it different?
Personally, for me, I believe it's the fact that most people that go to a regular gym, unless they're paying for a program themselves, or because to be fair, with the upgrowth of social media and personal trainers online now, you can actively get people that will write your program for you. But when I first started, like around 2016, 2017, there weren't really much of a social media presence, let alone people that would do it for you. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you know, when you're like in your 20s, you haven't got the money to pay for a PT, you know. And I feel like with CrossFit, you sign up, but I can justify the expense because it's not cheap. But you have a coach in every class. You have the workout written on the board every single day. So it doesn't matter if you train at 6 a.m., if you train at 6 p.m. All the people at that gym that day are doing the same workout. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes almost like a little internal competition with like the other people in the box. It's a bit healthy.
Because you're building a community there of people, aren't you? Exactly. This is what Sean was telling me. Like everyone, you're a little family.
Yeah.
You're working it rather than going to the gym as an individual or just with that PT, you're going with a community of people that you're all kicking towards something, aren't you?
100%. And obviously it's like everyone supports everyone as well. Like, you know, there's no shade or anything like that. It's nothing, there's obviously banter and stuff, but like if anyone new like even comes into the gym, like you just gather around them like the same way you would. Like obviously I met Sean and Lisa through CrossFit, and Sean's become one of my closest mates, and like we've only really known each other like 2-3 years. Yeah. So it's mad how like some of my best friends now, my best friends, you know, are my CrossFit mates.
Why do you think that is?
I just think you see someone 5-6 times a week and you sweat and throw a bunch of chalk around with them and then go for a beer afterwards. You're gonna get tight with people. Mm-hmm. It's like those who have suffered together kind of stick together. And like I said, like if it was me just going to a regular gym now, I think I'd just be bored because don't get me wrong, as a coach, I know how to program for myself, but it's not the same. Once you've trained in a community like CrossFit, and you then try and train on your own. Like at the moment, I've got a bit of an injury, so I'm having to like scale some stuff back and train on my own, and it is hella frustrating.
It's hard now.
It sucks. I'm getting older as well, so things just aren't. I can't just be like, yeah, I'll be fine.
How old are you? You said 30. Yeah, you're not old, Jay.
Oh, bro, I feel old. This is what's messed up.
No, you got no. I'm not 10 years on you, mate. You got no idea.
See, you look good as well, man. So that's if I can get to that, and then I'm still kicking. That's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I take more pride in my movement now as well, which is something I never believe I'd say. But when I was younger, I'd be like, like I can take some pre-workout and just power through, and I'll go to bed later and I'll be fine. Yeah. But now, like I'm having to actually like think a lot more, especially since I coach a lot
about
more.
The food. Is it about
food has always been my kryptonite, as it were, just because you know, like I told you, like 3 words to describe me: actor, lifter, eater. Yeah. Like I like food, man, and it is hard.
It's food. The thing with food is, I see it as like an addiction that you can't stop.
Yeah.
Because like you gotta have it every day.
Oh, you do, yeah, because exactly. Like,
and that healthy stuff just isn't as nice.
And no one wants to eat salad like full time.
No,
no one. For me, like tracking calories. And don't get me wrong, like I know how to do it and I know why I should do it.
Yeah,
but it's the bane
boring.
of my life.
It's
sucks.
Boring.
It sucks. Yeah. I'm lucky when I'm on it, and I can eat the same thing whenever I need to. I can hit this goal.
When does it work for you?
Honestly, it depends. Like, at the moment, I'm struggling just because, like, so about 2 years ago, around Christmas time, I usually I'm pretty good throughout the year. And then around Christmas, I take like 2 weeks off. I call it fat boy season. Just because I eat wherever I want, however I want, and I just enjoy myself.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I took that a bit far and I lost a bit of motivation. I think what we're talking, so start of last year, basically. So Christmas 22 is when it kind of started. And then I didn't really stop until after my 30th birthday in May last year. So it'd been 6 months as opposed to my usual 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got back up to my heaviest weight again. And obviously that was mad for me. And I was put it in perspective, I was 123 kilos. I can't work that out in stone, unfortunately. So sorry for anyone listening out there, just Google it. But I got from 123 Christmas Day. I think by May I was 148. So that's 25 or so kilos chunked on. And don't get me wrong, compared to how I was back in 2016 at 147, 148, I look totally different now. But I could still feel it in myself, and I didn't like the look of myself. And I got back on it. Last year I dropped 14 kilos, so I was back to where my danger weight usually is, around 135. And now I'm probably sitting after Christmas about 138, 139. So my goal for this year is to get back under 130.
So the benefits to the body are quite clear. What about for the benefits to the mind?
Man, it all just comes. I want to take you back to what you said about someone stepping into a CrossFit gym and it being intimidating, and then you looking at all the people online on social media looking jacked and looking chiseled, like they're from Mount Olympus or something. This ties back to my whole big thick energy thing, because if someone like me can do it, with a little bit of extra timber, and let's something I ain't got a six pack. I'll openly admit that, and I'm a bit chunky, and that's all good. But this is what big thick energy is. If someone that looks like me can do it, then there's no reason that you should feel bad about someone that has a six pack and who's walking on their hands. And you see it on CrossFit all the time. They all look fit. Even the people that are marketed for the 90 and 80, 85-year-olds that work out, they still look in shape.
They do, yeah.
They look jacked.
And I guess with the advertising, there is an element of you do want to show how good you could be.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but then that becomes, I think, for some people, intimidating.
The beauty of CrossFit for me is that anything can be scaled back. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're just starting or if you're an experienced lifter or you've been doing it your whole life. Anything can kind of be taken back to its bare minimum. And you can still perform functionally. So for the mind, for me, still being able to move and work out every day, don't get me wrong, it's a blessing that I have access to all these gyms and everything in my life. But for my mental health, it's so important, because without it, I'd be lost. It literally is that hour and a half a day that takes away from any BS that might be going on in my life or in my head. Even days last week, I had a terrible day, man. Even the gym weren't working for me, and I just had a bad day, and I just wrote it off. I was like, you know what? Even if I had a bad training session today, I still did something. There's a really great quote from this guy called John Wellborn, who runs a company called Power Athlete. And they're not really CrossFit, but they do a lot of CrossFit principles. They're mainly an NFL, S&C kind of company. But I'm paraphrasing here. But he says something like, you can shovel dirt every day. It doesn't matter if you're using a spoon or a bulldozer. You're still shoveling dirt. That's all that matters. So it doesn't matter if you have a bad day in the gym. You're still in the gym. It doesn't matter if you haven't hit your step count. It doesn't matter if you ate that cheeseburger at lunch with the office. Do you know what I mean? If you had a Five Guys or a Nando's instead of eating a salad.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing something every day, for me anyway, that is enough to satisfy my head. And don't get me wrong, I'm also very hypocritical because I'm terrible at taking my own advice. So I'll be like, yeah, I feel crap today, man.
Well, being a human's hard work, so I wouldn't say hypocritical. We have tough moments, don't we?
Exactly.
Anyone that says they don't is lying.
It's they're lying.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now.
They're lying. And I think there was a little period in history where people started showing off a little bit about how wonderful things were.
Yeah.
I think maybe social media did that. Do
you know what? I still think it's kind of.
It's still there.
I think social media is brilliant for putting out positivity and everything, but there is a lot on social media that we don't see behind the scenes. Because people only want to post the good stuff.
Yeah,
people don't want to see bad stuff.
And there's a lot of attention seeking.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And I was watching, you know what? And I don't really watch Love Island, but my mum had it on the other night, and I was doing some work on my laptop. And I saw the new, I don't really know what's going on, but I think it's like a group of all-stars that have come in. So it's like all the people from like previous series have now all jumped into the villa. And I'm thinking to myself, all these guys are like jacked, chiseled.
All look perfect.
Yeah, in it. All good-looking people. And I was thinking to myself, like, no disrespect. Like, that's how they've done well. Like, their bodies look great. But I was thinking to myself, I'd love to see someone like a bit like me in there. Like, a bit of timber, like, a lot of body hair.
Normal.
Yeah. Just a regular-looking bloke, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see that. I'd watch that Love Island.
Yeah.
Because I just want to be like how like normal people are. Like, kind of how like Big Brother was back in the day. Could have just been anyone, innit? Like, they had like people with crazy backstories and people who were just normal. Yeah. And it just... People
being genuine, authentic, and...
Literally.
Yeah, rather than hiding behind all that makeup and you see, I think you get to a point where maybe it entertains and it looks appealing at first. Yeah. But then I think after a while you see through it, don't you?
Scratch the surface, like peel the onion.
Yeah. And especially I think when you're young, you look at that and go, oh, you can strive for perfection and get it because they've got it.
Of course.
But then, like you say, you peel the onion and you realise...
Is everything sweet? Do you know what I mean? And like your business is out in the press, and this is one of the main things like people say to me when like I'm like, because don't get me wrong, since the day before Forever, I've told myself, I'm gonna be famous. But
why is that?
I've always, I think, just been in the career mindset of like, I wanted to play in the NBA. Yeah, I wanted to, I was a kid. I was 8, 9 years old watching Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal just ball out, back in the day. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to have cars and I want to have a big house and all of this. But as I got older, that kind of changed. It was like, now I want to be famous so I can influence the world in a positive way. And this might sound cliche as hell, but personally for me, when people ask me why do I keep going with the acting and why don't I just get a 9 to 5 and why don't I get like a solid job in a bank or something, or why didn't I pick that career path? For me, it was like, I want to be famous, but I don't want to be famous for like cars and money anymore, because like any idiot can have cars and money. Let's be honest, like you can make money however you want to make it. But for me, it was like, if I can spread a message to the world that you can still struggle and still just be genuine, who's there to say that like I can't do it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to really advocate for mental health because I don't think it's done enough, especially like in today's world. And don't get me wrong, it's getting better, but mental health as a whole, like, doesn't matter, like men, women, whoever, like however you identify, there's a lot of shit that people don't see. And I'd love to be able to just support that a lot more. Don't get me wrong, it sounds weird that I say I need to be famous to do that. I don't, because I do it already. I post about it and I'm quite positive on my page about being open and stuff. But you always want to get to that point where like, I want to love what I do for a living and do it full time. So as long as I can do that, I'll be happy. If the rest of the stuff comes with it, if the money, the house and all that comes with it, then great. But realistically, like, I think if I could choose, I'd kind of be like how some like underground rappers are these days. Like how J. Cole just became like one of the greatest rappers of all time. But unless he drops a song, you know nothing about the guy. Like you literally, like he was doing a candid interview just like we are right now. He was doing I think it was a podcast or something. The guy he knew the guy obviously that was interviewing him. And he was like, obviously you just got married and how's that working out for you? And then the crowd like starts murmuring. And he was just like, oh, did I just reveal that you got married and had a kid? And he was just like, yeah, man. Everyone starts cheering. But like, low-key, that's kind of how I always wanted to be. Still be like well enough off to like provide for my family and, be able to help my parents out and be able to take my mom on holiday and, have wife, kids, whatever. But realistically, like, for me, it was all about just doing what I love for a living. If that gets me to being famous, then great. If it doesn't, then I'm still doing what I love for a living. That's
my next question. So let's look at, I hope you do, get your passions and follow your dreams. But let's say, what happens if you don't? What does that look? How do you still do what you want to do? How do you still do your art and spread your message?
Personally, for me, it's no different to how I am right now. Because realistically, like, I'm 30 years old. I still live at home. Most people, my generation, like, there's been that pressure of like 30, I don't know if it was the same for you growing up as well.
It was always there, but I think the thing that's different right now is, yes, you're 30, but I'm not looking at you going, you're still at home. I'm looking at you going, it's a struggle for all 30-year-olds.
Of course.
It's a struggle to rent for anyone right now. To buy a home, it's just impossible, isn't it? Yeah, the world's a bit fucked right now.
Yeah,
with, you know, I think the social promise has been broken. You know, that you work hard, you'll get money, you'll be able to put food on the table, you'll be able to get a roof over your head, get a car. Do you know all that stuff that you used to be able to do?
Yeah.
It doesn't work now.
The dream's kind of like been sold, and now like, people ain't buying it. So.
Yeah, so I don't look at you and go, you've not succeeded.
Neither do I.
You know, you and me, we're living in a really difficult time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, like I say, it's no different to how I am now, because like, yeah, if I get to where I get to, great. You know, I'll have money, whatever. It's cool. I'll be famous. I'll be able to influence stuff, and I'll be.
I guess that's it. Having the voice that you can influence.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm doing just fine, man. Like I'm happy enough. Like, you know, I got good family, good people around me. You know, it's no different to, like, I always say, like, I'm not at my lowest. I'm definitely not at my highest. You know, but at the same time, like, I'm good because I'm working. I got a roof over my head. People that love me, and realistically, it's no different to say like I don't get to where I want to get to, or I only have, like, I don't know, one TV role and then that's it, and I'm done, or something happens to me, God forbid, you know, and that's it.
Yeah, like we don't know how long we've got to it.
Exactly, you know, I'll still be preaching the same stuff I'm preaching now. Like I'm still going to be open, and if anyone wants to chat about their mental health with me, or chop it up, or do something like this, you know, I'm going to be no different. And I've prided myself on that my whole life. You know, throw back to when I was getting bullied at school. Getting bullied didn't make me want to stop singing, you know? Didn't make me want to stop being in the musicals at school. I was glad I did, because if I don't do that and don't go through that back then, I ain't what I am now. So realistically, I think if you break that down, like you said to me, what happens if that don't work out? If it don't work out, as long as I'm happy and healthy, as long as the people around me are still good, as long as I'm surrounding myself with good people and good vibes, can't ask for much more than that, man.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's really nice. So let's go back to the positive side of it. So let's go back to what the future looks like with what you want to do. What does it look like? What are you going to achieve?
You know what? Last year was my busiest year to date, luckily, with the acting stuff. Basically, I used to work in retail, like all of us did. You know, I had a side hustle, everything. I kind of stopped all that in 2019. And 2019 summertime was when I was like, right, if I'm gonna give it a shot, I've got this drama degree. I've just had like a sticky 3 years, but honestly, some of the best years of my life. Like, despite how hard uni was, I made some of my best mates for life. I had really good times, and I learned a hell of a lot about myself. So really, I don't look back on that as a bad experience. 2019, I committed to like acting full time, and I was just like, right, I'm gonna just do it. And luckily for me, as soon as I came out of uni, I managed to get myself on Spotlight, because my old like outside of school drama teacher had an agency that she still ran for the kids that she taught. So a lot of them would be in like the West End stuff, and they'd get recruited from that.
So Spotlight, for those outside, so we do have some listeners outside the UK now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
No, that's great, man.
So
that's awesome.
for anyone that doesn't, and outside of the industry, what is Spotlight and why is that important?
So Spotlight, how can I dumb this down a little bit? Basically, it's like a big catalogue of all the actors in the UK that obviously pay and have the membership for it. I think it's like something, I think I pay like
a couple of £200 a year.
£200 a year right now. That's what I'm paying. Basically, that is like a big catalogue, a big directory of every performer in the UK, who agents and producers and directors, casting directors can all look at that, and you can post your credits. It can post like basically your stats. It's like if you ever see like the tail of the tape before a boxing match, what their record is, how many credits they've been in, what they've been in, kind of like IMDb, but a bit more old-fashioned.
Yeah, and you're not seen in the UK. You're not seen as a professional without it.
Exactly, which is really, you know, shit.
It is. 'Cause I feel that. I feel, you know, I've been through a time recently where money's been tight.
Yeah, of course.
And I've been like, I can't afford that this year. But then if I don't pay it, then I'm not going to have them opportunities for work. But £200 is a lot of money.
It's a lot to swing
pay out
when you know you're just starting out. And obviously, like I say, I got really lucky because I managed to get on there because I had an agent, and obviously it was my old drama teacher who, you know, said, "Yeah, I'll put you on my books." Don't get me wrong, this was like 2015 when I graduated. So by that time, 2015 to 2019, fast forward, she had shut the agency down, and I had like a couple of jobs here and there, but nothing dramatic. And it wasn't until 2019 where like I finally was a bit more in shape and progressing with my health and my fitness and stuff, and I looked better as a person. Got some headshots done, And I basically just started emailing, doing the rounds for agents. I just Googled, and I managed to get myself an interview with my agent, with one of my current agents, and they took me on luckily. And then from there, it just kind of started to build. Don't get me wrong, slowly at first, because I was an unknown actor at 20, however old I was, 25, 26 back in 2019, and I managed to score myself a job on the West End doing like an immersive theatre show. Long story short, that kind of went to crap because
what was that show?
It's called Variant 31, and it lasted all of about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Basically, the guy, like, I ain't going to name names, but like the guy that produced it sold us the dream, and it was supposed to be the next big thing in London. And you know how they've got like Monopoly Life-Sized and all these like new immersive shows that are like coming onto the West End now? It was supposed to be like that. It was kind of like playing zombies like Quasar, effectively. So like we were like scare actors in a nutshell. But unfortunately, we all got kind of taken for a ride, and
that is the big danger in the industry, isn't it? There's a lot of people 100%. Being taken advantage of.
100%. And it was me back then, being just the person I was and naive to the industry. I was like, yo, it's a job. Just stick it out, and we'll see what happens. But unfortunately, to me, it wasn't an equity contract that we signed. Equity, I'll explain. Equity is the actors' union in the UK. So I'm sure many people have heard about the SAG-AFTRA strikes that were going on last year.
Equity is our version,
our
isn't
version.
it?
Yeah, exactly. And they're all like connected together. So obviously Equity eventually got involved and sorted it out, and we got lawyers involved, and we had a case, and we won some of the money back, but realistically it was like the cost of like a pair of trainers. So I
guess in the entertainment industry there's a lot of people taking risks. And then there's a lot of risks and a lot of people taking advantage as well. And so it is a tough industry to get into, isn't it?
It is, I agree, but I think you got to be mentally tough to do it. And I'm not saying anyone who isn't or feels like they aren't should shy away from it, because for me, like, and this is to paraphrase Will Smith, my life is a cage, but on stage I'm free. You know, for me it just works. Like this, I feel most at home when I'm performing, when I'm acting, when I'm singing, when I'm on stage, just or in front of a camera, just. I feel that's the most natural part of Mike. I'm just, even though I'm playing someone different.
No.
But that's where I'm like happy, you know, I love it. And for me, it's such a big passion. And like I say, like when I started out, I had basically next to nothing. You know, I was still at home just like working here and there and doing what I could. And like I say, I get this show on the West End, then it all goes to shit. But I met some people through that who then got me another side gig. Is some nightclub work in London, doing some immersive stuff again. But it's like quite a big nightclub in London. But
what nightclub's that?
Cirque du Soir.
Okay. Did I see you still doing stuff there?
I am every now and then.
Every now and then you're doing stuff.
I'm not doing it as much anymore because I won't lie, the hours just kind of get to you. When you're working that time of night, like you have to be like in a certain state of mind.
What kind of performance is that? Because I've seen some really interesting. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? I've seen some really interesting.
Talking about.
Really interesting photos. I was like, oh, this looks fun.
Put it this way, for anyone out there, right? Unless you go yourself, I'm not going to reveal too much. Right. But you just got to open it you just got to go in with an open mind. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing extreme going on. But those who know about Cirque know about Cirque. And it's not to say that it's a bad part of the industry. If anything, it's one of the best parts of the industry because you can be yourself, you can be open, and it's just showing off. But it ain't everyone's cup of tea.
Tell me more. I'm really like inquisitive about this. Tell me more. Like that.
It's a regular nightclub.
Right.
The twist is you've got immersive actors and dancers who are, you know, scantily clad or stuff goes on. You've got sex toys and whatever else flying about the place, and it's Cirque du Soir, Circus of the Night. Right. You know, so imagine that kind of action. It's it's a bit kooky, it's a bit weird. There's another club called The Box, which does similar sort of things. And I think with the industry and, you know, like you've got sex work and OnlyFans becoming such a massive part of the industry now, I think it's great because get your money, you know, like it's a hustle. You've kind of got to do what you got to do. And obviously, like, we don't go fully nude or anything like that, but, you know, we're dressed a bit risque and things are what they are. But for me, like
you're there as an entertainer.
Exactly. I'm there to work, man. And it's not like we're all sleeping together after the show. Do you know what I mean? Most of us are going home, or most of them are married or with boyfriends or girlfriends, myself included. And it's like just going home and cracking on with whatever you've got to do the next day. You know, a lot
that
of them,
was your performance that night.
Yeah, exactly. That was work. Work's done. Go home, wake up, go to another side hustle or another job the next day. So luckily, like, I found myself into that, and it's been a really good way to, you know, not only the people that I work with are amazing. Like I love my castmates up there, but it scratches an itch of performing when you don't have anything like, because not everyone's going to score that commercial. Not everyone's going to be on TV straight away. And this is still a way of performing in London, one of the biggest cities in the world, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And the only thing I'll say about it, apart from the hours and it can get on top of you, other than that, it's great if you're that way inclined. Some people, it's not for everyone, and I totally understand that and appreciate that. But for me, just doing my job and having that to go back to when I need to go back to it,
yeah, it's nice.
It's good to have.
Yeah.
Luckily now I can pull it back a little bit, and I haven't got to work these late nights anymore because of how much I've come with the CrossFit coaching. And obviously that's becoming a bit more of a staple in my life. And I've had loads of jobs I used to work the door. One of my best mates runs a landscaping firm, so I did that for a couple of years. But yeah, I mean,
so the reason for these side hustles, I'm guessing, is so it can give you these opportunities to be the performer that you really are.
Exactly.
To be yourself.
100%, because you hear stories all the time back in the day, like, I was a waiter for ages and then my screenplay got sold. People have always had to hustle.
Yeah.
And that's not just in our industry, that's in any industry you can. Like, if you want to make that extra money on the side, like if you want to sell on Vinted or, do what you can, it's a hustle, and everyone kind of has to fight for that. For me though, I'm quite lucky where, like I say, last year was my busiest year to date. I shot a few commercials, and mainly
one with Vinnie Jones, I saw.
Yeah, so it was for a video game called World of Tanks, which,
right,
to be honest, I'd heard of. I think like Arnold Schwarzenegger did a campaign for them a couple years back, and that was literally my only knowledge. But I had a great shoot for that. That was like a week down in Bournemouth, or around Bournemouth, that kind of area. We were in this massive house, and I got to meet Vinnie Jones. That's pretty cool. But yeah, like that was one of my big jobs last year. I shot a couple other commercials, 2 I can't actually say anything about yet, but they are coming out soon. And what else did I do? Oh, I did one for Yorkshire Tea right at the start of the year. So that was my first like big job of the year, and like my first like paid commercial. So that was exciting for me. And then after that, my spotlight kind of, I guess, got a bit more traction. And
because once you've got a few commercials on there, other commercial agents are keen on you.
Exactly.
Other casting directors are like, oh, he's got a particular look that works well in this place. Yeah.
That's it. And for me, don't get me wrong, like I usually get cast as heavy security guards, gangsters, mobsters, but I mean, I don't that pays the bills, so it doesn't bother me. Like, I'd love to branch out eventually and get into other stuff and have leading roles and things like this, of course, but realistically, like, I love being on set, man.
Yeah.
I love doing it, and the people I meet as well, like the amount of people I've met and have made friends with, like from that first job where, I got mugged off, I met people through that who are still my friends to this day. I know a couple of stunt guys, like one of my friends is a really talented stunt guy. He's done some work on like Fast and Furious, Ant-Man, like crazy stuff with like Marvel. And you think from like where we were back then, he was training to be a stunty. Obviously we were all kind of fresh, and now he's like, he's doing like king shit.
The
and
networking
it's awesome.
and the friendships are really important within this career and industry, aren't
100%. Like, it's, if anything, one of the most important things. This is where the good side of social media comes in, and this is where the whole having to say something snappy to people. What's your handle? Big thick energy. Oh, okay, cool. And even that's a conversation starter. It's like, why that?
What is it? Yeah, and
exactly.
then goes,
It's like, well, there you go. Like that's what it is. It even led me to try and like create the same kind of energy with a fitness account as well on my Instagram. And I'm not as active in there as I'd like to be, but I'll tell you the truth. The only reason I created that one was because my regular Insta got hacked a couple of years ago, and I took that personally, man. I took that to heart because I was like, me being an idiot, I was like, I didn't have any security or anything turned on because we're just, until it happens to you, you don't think, I'll be fine. But then when it did, I was gutted, man, because I had like nearly 2,000 followers, and don't get me wrong, that's not breaking records, but still, for me, that was massive.
It takes work building up a following on social media.
And like, I was gutted, and some people, like some of my non-industry mates, were just like, dude, it's okay, it's just an Instagram. I was like, no, but it's not. It's a brand. It's like, it's 2 years. It's however many years of work I'm putting in, and like since.
Well, I'm doing that right now with this, and I'd be heartbroken if, I feel like I'm doing a creative thing on social media with this.
Definitely.
I'm a creator of. Do we call it a creator, like a museum carer? I feel like I'm a creator of like conversations right now.
Yeah.
And
I hear that.
And I got a format, and I got a thing that I'm doing, and if something came along and destroyed that, I'd be upset.
Yeah, you'd be pissed.
Yeah.
And it, honestly, when it happened, like, it was well weird. It was such a surreal experience that whole like 3-4 weeks I went through it. And I'll talk about it now. I can laugh about it. But like, I remember I was on a night out with some of my CrossFit friends, my gym mates, and I got this random text, and bearing in mind, I was a couple of whiskeys in at this point, a couple of beers in.
Yeah.
And like, I'm having a great night. It's the summer, you know, it's all good. And then I get this random text, and it was like, hey. I was just like, all right. And I'm thinking it could be someone who's got my number from my mate, or it could just be someone's number. I think I just changed my phone as well, so I think it could have been anyone.
Right.
So I was just like, hey, who's this? And then literally they said some random name, I can't remember the name, but it was like, do you want your Instagram account back? And then from that moment, you know when like you kind of have that switch and you're just like,
so you're being held to ransom,
bro.
Yeah.
This was surreal. I was like, nah, this is some Black Mirror shit. Like, I was like, what's going on? And I was just like, as soon as that text came in, one of my best mates, shout out my mate Curtis, one of my best mates texted me and was like, bro, your Insta's been hacked. And I was just like, come on. Because I'd seen it been happening like throughout like that time of year recently, and like some other people had been hacked, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool. When I got hacked, I was like, damn. And at first, Instagram support was terrible because like they make you go through this, and eventually like it works. So I can't shade them too much, but basically you have to submit like a video of yourself. And for anyone that's ever been hacked, you'll know this. You have to submit like a video of yourself. But the problem is, if you ran like, I don't know, if you've got like a gardening business or a builder's business or a chef's business, anything that hasn't got your face on your profile, you try and verify it, there's nothing to verify. You know, one of my best mates recently had his account hacked last year, and he literally had his kids and his wife on there. He didn't really post himself much, so there was nothing really to go off. I joked. I was like,
there's not much. So now you're panicking me.
Yeah,
because there's not much of me on there.
But like, I still feel like with you when you have the clips up and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah, there are some moments.
You can still see your face, you know. So I think it's still good.
So you're getting a human being checks it, and it's not all automatic?
I don't know.
Right, okay.
I hope somewhere in wherever the hell the head office is in the US, some human is like, yeah, that's your face, that's all good.
Well, it's partly like, this is partly the thing of why I'm doing it on so many different social media platforms. Like 100%. With this, it goes on everything. Yeah. It goes on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, the whole lot. Like I guess for me, I'm trying to put these conversations out there into the world. Why do they need to just be in one corner of the internet?
Agreed.
No, you know, and a protection thing as well. That if one platform goes down, I've still got all the others.
Exactly.
And like stranger things have happened. Like Facebook could just disappear one day.
Die. Yeah. Zuckerberg could just be like, yeah, you know what? No, I'm done.
Yeah. And turns it off.
And just he's like,
yeah. And then so that's your work gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that because what Facebook owns, like Meta, whatever it is now. Yeah. Like that's a lot. Even WhatsApp.
Yeah. So that's Facebook, WhatsApp, Threads, Instagram. Yeah.
Elon's got Twitter, X.
Yeah. And again, with him, you could be putting all the stuff on there.
He could do whatever he wants, basically. Yeah. He could tell us what to do something, we'd all have to do it. Like that's how crazy it is. Yeah. But literally, like I felt robbed of something. I felt sick. But luckily, like praise to God, whatever mythical service was out there, I got my account back, and it weren't that deep. Mm-hmm. But leading me back to my original point, that's a hella digression. Apologies. But
that's the beauty of these conversations, though. But we find out stuff within them digressions, don't we?
This is what I love about just candid chats with people and just chopping it up. And this is why I was like really excited to come do this, because I know me as a person, I could talk for hours and hours. Mm-hmm. And it can lead you literally anywhere. My best friend from like day one, like me and him, the basis of our relationship is just chatting crap with each other. Yeah. I think most relationships are.
There's so much value in having a conversation, isn't there?
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think taking it back to like the mental health thing.
Yeah.
That sitting down and having that one-on-one moment with someone is a really nice thing. And I don't think we do it enough anymore.
I agree, man. I think quintessentially, for me, because I'll be open about this, I never went to therapy when I was struggling with myself. I don't know why. Because me at this age now, I've actually finally, because it's one of my biggest fears. I don't know why, it just is.
Going to therapy.
Yeah, like actually having to sit down and face everything. And I've had people say it works for them, some people say it doesn't. And for me, I think when I was younger, like I just found solace in talking to people about stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's an unfair pressure to put on my mates, but realistically, they're your mates, that's why they're there, right? Like I'd be no different if they came to me with an issue and like I say, now I'm really lucky to have like family, friends, and you know people around me who will listen and will be there. You know, if like, oh mate, let's just go for a beer. I'm having a rough time at the moment. But back then, like I didn't want to go out of therapy, and it was offered to me by tutors, by like the university council and everything, and shout out my uni, like they did what they could, but I don't know whether it was like a pride thing, like I just wanted to kind of get through it on my own.
Yeah.
But now as I'm like like I say, and turning 30 was weird for me because like I was a mess at 21. And that was the last big age milestone I had.
And and like you said before, there's social pressures.
Of course.
Yeah, so you put that on yourself. You're like, what should I have achieved? What should I have achieved by now?
Exactly. You have the list, right? Like, oh yeah, like because when you're a kid, you're an idiot. Like you're like, yeah, I'll be.
Oh, I thought I'd have it all figured out by 30, and if I didn't, I'd also had a backup.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Exactly.
Like, I was like, oh, like if I don't become the famous actor by 30, I'm gonna go and join the police force, and like then I'm gonna have a proper job, and I'm gonna still have the car and the house, the family, the holidays. Like it's all right.
A boat.
The boat. Yeah.
For me, it was like, by 30, I'll be entering like I don't know, my 20th season in the NBA.
Yeah,
I'd have just won like my 8th championship with the Chicago Bulls.
Like,
like I'll be moving into like sports broadcasting or something. Just
even the backup plan sounds beautiful.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
But then you get there, and I think this is the case for 99% of us. You get there, and it ain't all.
It ain't what it was promised by like my youngest. If 10-year-old Mike could write me a letter back then and be like, "This is where you'll be at." And 30-year-old Mike would ring 10-year-old Mike and be like, "You, my friend, were wrong," but that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because where I am at now, like, I love it, and this brings me back to like what we were saying about like what's next for me. I feel like, and I've been saying this for a while, I don't know what it is, but the way the career for me has gone last year with the acting, mainly the acting, because obviously like I still have passion in music and stuff as well, but acting kind of takes the priority because I'm having more success with it. But for me, I don't know what's coming. I can smell something good. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's at. I don't know how it's going to come to me. But I feel like finally some of the work I've been putting in is going to lead me to something quite decent next year. I don't know whether that's just me just trying to manifest something. But even if it is, who cares? But realistically, like last year was my busiest year to date. And I'm just happy lucky enough to just still be in the industry and still be working. I've got 2 great agents that pull for me and still get me work on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Like I've obviously got extras work as well. So like SA, supporting artist work.
Which is great for experience.
So good. If any actor out there, or if you're thinking about the performing arts, do not shy away from extras work. They can't call it that anymore because we're supporting artists, but it's how it's commonly known as an extra.
What agencies you with?
Casting Collective.
Same, yeah. Mad Dog.
Yeah, Mad Dog Casting. Yeah. We Got Pop, although I think they've just changed their name to Entertainment Partners or EP Casting. There's a couple others that escape me as well, but I've had some of my biggest TV exposure from just extras work.
Yeah.
Because like doing SA stuff, you don't know who you're going to meet because it's people from all walks of life. It could be like retired people who are just bored and want something creative to do. And I think that's great because if they've got to... I met my first ever extras gig was back before university. It was 2012 and it was the last episode, like the one-off special of the IT Crowd. Mm-hmm. And it was the episode where like Moss has to go into a phone booth after buying ladies' slacks. And he then comes out in his Y-fronts and stops a mugging of an old woman. Mm-hmm. I was one of the guys mugging the old woman, obs. But that old woman that we were robbing, she had been doing like extras work for God knows how many years, like after she retired. Mm-hmm. And I think she said like her husband died or something, so she just wanted something to get her out of the house. She got into extras work, and then for like the 20 years of extras she'd been doing, supporting artist work, she'd made something ridiculous, like million, like over that like career. And I think she'd been in some massive shows. Like I think she'd done like some Catherine Cooks and stuff and some other, the names escape me, but she had a mad successful career. And then once I clocked that, I started to see her pop up in stuff, and I was right.
I do it now. Having done extra work on and off for about the last 20 years, I'll throw myself into it for a little bit when I need some, because it's good for money.
It's great, exactly.
Yeah, I always stay on their books to see what jobs come up.
Well, because you never know.
No, and I do have stuff. Like I had something recently for an audition for Marvel come up.
Sick, yeah, same.
yeah. Just to play a character, like they want like aliens and things like that in the background. But you know, for me, like being a fanboy of comics when I was younger,
me too.
Man. To have that opportunity to be in a Marvel film would be the blessing of that. So, but you wouldn't get that if you weren't with the extras agencies.
100%. And I always use, going back to the Marvel thing, like I always joke with like people, like especially the CrossFit coaching, like one of my mates who owns the gym, I always say to him, he's like, yo, I'm yours as long as Nick Cage don't, not Nick Cage, as long as Nick Fury don't come calling.
Yeah.
Like, as long as Samuel L don't come calling or Marvel don't come calling, I'm all yours, man. I'm free that day.
Yeah.
But if it is, you just got to be ready, drop the hat and go, because like you say, being in a Marvel film would be awesome.
And I guess that's the thing with having a dream, isn't it? What are you prepared to sacrifice for that dream? So
Exactly.
the dream is the actor, the rapper, the musician, the artist. So what do you sacrifice to get there?
I mean, for me, I've always said, like, if you're down with me and you're riding with me on the journey, I've got no reason to not take you with me, you know? But honestly, it has to be my priority. Like, and I'm lucky enough to, like I say, have family that understand, have friends that understand that sometimes I just have to drop stuff and just go. Luckily, like, so far, it hasn't caused any major clashes. Like, I haven't missed any weddings or any life events,
you hear
birthdays.
those sort of stories, don't you? Emma Stone, she was in an interview saying how she literally missed her best friend's wedding for an audition that she didn't even get.
Exactly.
But you have to make them choices sometimes, don't you?
Exactly, and sometimes you just got to throw yourself into it. Like, I'm actually best man for, like I say, my oldest friend in this September, and I'm kind of joking with him. I'm just like, if I get that call, man. You understand? I ain't going to be there, but I'll pay for the wedding.
Have you got a backup?
Yes, that's what I mean. I was just like, you're going to have to get one of the other boys to do it, but I'll pay for the wedding. It's fine. If I get the job, it's all yours, bro. I'll pay for the car. I'll pay whatever. We'll fly to Vegas, whatever you want.
But going back to sacrifices, you're making sacrifices though now, aren't you?
Yeah,
yeah?
Definitely.
You live it. You could go and work in a 9-to-5
100%.
office.
I could go make six figures. I could go work in a bank.
Yeah, you could go to retail or sales.
Yeah,
or something,
you could make 30 to 80k a year. You could go do that because I like, I've got a degree. I like to think I'm an intelligent person.
Yeah,
and I think I'd be all right if I threw myself into that. But realistically, the creative in me would go, nah, your brain don't want this, and after 6 months you'll be bored. Because that's how it was when I was in retail and in leisure and working the door. And the first time, it's not until I actually managed to get a bit of traction with acting. I was just like, hey, this actually this could work, because my first couple of jobs, I was like, okay, let's not big myself up. Let's not get too gassed about these things. And I still do it now. I really shouldn't, because I should be proud of what I've done. But as being a performer, as I'm sure you know, like, we're our biggest critic, right?
Yeah.
We're never happy. We always want to be the next best thing. And like, for example, like, I did some background work on the most recent season of Top Boy, and I managed to get a feature, which is generally, for people that don't know, a feature is when you can your face is seen and it's you. Like, it's not just like, you just like, I don't know.
Not just a shadow or an elbow.
Or a dog walker that just walks past.
Yeah.
Literally. So like, I was featured in one of the scenes, and obviously it was in a gym, and I was bench pressing, and the amount of like traction and like love from my people that I got from that. Like, even people that I hadn't spoken to since school. Like, I got like a random Facebook DM off this girl I went to school with. She was just like, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I see you in Top Boy, or does someone like look exactly like you? And I was just like, no, you caught me, man. That's that. And like, that was so surreal for me. I actually got recognized the other day. I was shopping for a shirt, just an M&S. And like, one of the like attendant guys, because I asked them to get me a bigger size, because obviously, it's always about the struggle with clothes. But yeah, I was looking for a bigger size, and the guy was like, yeah, I don't want to be weird or anything, mate, but do you like, because I went to see a Giants live, the strongman stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
I went to see that back in September with my partner, and I had the hoodie on, and he was just like, do you like lift, or like, do you compete in like strongman or something? And I was just like, I mean, I'd love to, but no. He was just like, why do I feel like I know you from somewhere? I was just like, I've been on TV a couple of times, like, I'm an actor, so you might have seen me about. And no sooner had I said that, he literally screamed at me and was like, Top Boy. I was just like, yeah, man.
How does that feel to get that recognition?
Weird. So weird. Like, because it's the first time, like, because like, people have been saying to me my whole life, you look well familiar, but I think it's just to kind of disarm me if I'm on a night out and they see the biggest dude in the room and they're like, don't want any trouble with him, better not start nothing, better try and be his friend. And I don't know, for all my other big guys out there, if you've ever experienced that, I'm sure you have, like, then you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, people have been like that my whole life, just like, yeah, you look well familiar, or this, I've seen you from here or from here. And, I guess like 50% of the time, I actually know them or they know me. But this kid, obviously, never known him from Adam, and he was really sweet about it. He was like, I'm not weird or anything. I ain't like a stalker or nothing, man. Like, obviously, I just really love the show, and like, I clocked it, and I saw you, and obviously I see you here today, so it's just kind of mad. But for me, I was like, this is a bit surreal, and obviously like, this is why I say to myself, like, I feel like something could be coming. Just because, don't get me wrong, I ain't trying to get like in my own head about it, but realistically, in this industry, if you don't big yourself up, then you're gonna get chewed up and spit out, because everyone's kind of out for themselves at this point.
Yeah.
Because
And you've got to make your mark, haven't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, going back to, you got to make sacrifices. I know some people that throw people under the bus to get ahead of stuff, and don't get me wrong, I don't ever want to pride myself on doing that, because, you know, I wouldn't be then true to myself. But you have to make sacrifices. Like you say, like, I could go get a 9-5 job, drive a BMW, drive a Tesla, and just be content and make money and be happy.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, A, I know I wouldn't be fulfilled. B, I'd get so bored, because my brain doesn't stop, and I need it to be constantly just working and ticking over. And if I was doing something monotonous, like, I'd just be lost, man.
Yeah.
And like you say, you have to make sacrifices. And, you know, no shade to my car, but I drive like a 0.9 Volkswagen Up.
Gets you about?
Yeah, it gets me from A to B.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like 40 quid to fill the tank up. And
well, maybe this just isn't your moment for the car.
That's what I'm saying.
The moment for the car's next year.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you get that job next year.
Exactly. This is when it could come.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I've just always tried to stay like as humble as I can, and just as real as I can. And eventually, like, I feel like my karmic slate, or, you know, God's plan, or whatever you want to call it, whatever your beliefs are, I do truly believe that you do good things and good things will start to come, you know? And don't get me wrong, like, sometimes you get overnight successes, you know, and you get people that get discovered in an airport or shopping for something.
It's rare.
It's rare, but it can happen.
And a lot of the overnight successes, they look like overnight successes to us, but you don't know the work that's gone in behind that.
Exactly. I mean, say, like, you know, either of us get a job, like, you know, get a call from someone tomorrow, it's like, yo, you're going to be in the new Fast and Furious, or you're going to be in the new James Bond, you know. That changes your life.
Yeah, yeah.
But to everyone else around the world, you're an overnight success because you've never been in something of this magnitude before. You know, no one knows who you are. You're an unknown. But to us, we've been putting in the work. You know, we've been doing the long overnight shoots on background work and extras work. We've been through the struggle. We've sat when we've had no other job. We've had to go do, you know, work in retail or work in leisure when nothing else was paying the bills. And I think some people do take that for granted, because one of the negative things for me is, like, when I speak to people and they're just like, oh, you're an actor. So what have you been in? I was just like, I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
All my life.
Yeah, bro.
All my life. Like, do you know what I've also found as well as an actor? I'd go to something like a barbecue, meeting new people, some event where you're meeting loads of new people. You know you're going to have to chat to people. And I'd often dread that question coming up. So what is it you do? Oh, I'm an actor. Because you know the response. So what have you been in? Oh, well, I haven't been in anything in particular yet, because I'm still working on it. You know?
Like,
and in 20 years of working on it, I'm not giving up. I'm not stopping, because I haven't been in that big thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Like I say, like, it's horrible, because it's like, so what have you been in? And it's just like, like, that validates my career. Like, if I'm from an actor, I'm an actor. You know, I've been paid to be on, and I always usually say, nothing you would have probably seen, but since, like, getting Top Boy, I was just like, my biggest thing is probably Top Boy, but I've had a couple commercials here and there, and, you know, like I say, realistically, I've only been full time to it, like, I guess, what are we now, 2024, so yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So, because I don't really count the year of COVID.
No, it was like a blip year, wasn't it?
It's literally like when Thanos clicked his hands.
Yeah, we
just kind of
vanished for a moment. Yeah,
straight up. Like.
Yeah, well, we all went through it. So, like,
exactly.
You know, there weren't anyone apart from it seemed to be the richer got richer and the poorer got a bit poorer. But apart from that, everyone else sort of.
One of the things I saw actually on the Instagram, like, it was one of the nuggets you put up, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it was about the poster that the government put out about the ballerina and, like, going to retrain in a different field. The value of us as performers wasn't really felt at that time, was it? It was not, and I still think even to this day it's still not as valued as it should be. But you name me a person throughout lockdown that didn't go through it without a Netflix subscription or Spotify, books, art, drawing, you know, some form of creative stimulus. And, like, I can't lie, COVID made me wild out and do some crazy things myself. But, like, I always stood true. I was like, I'm sick of us just not being validated. And this kind of brings me back to like, oh, you're an actor, what you've been in. It doesn't matter, don't worry. This is what I do. But luckily, like most of the people I talk to, like not in the industry, when they ask me, they're always kind of fascinated because like it's not normal to people that aren't around that crowd. Because, you know, like to us, like, you know, essay work and, you know, hearing turnover like a million times from the AD, the assistant director, and you're having to be quiet in like a green room and sitting there for 10 hours and then working for 45 minutes, sit there for another 2, work for another hour. You know, they're not used to that.
And the career progression isn't normal as well.
No.
You know, like it doesn't mean that you've had one small job and each job's going to get better and better and better. Like I say, I've had 20 years of a certain level of type of work. And you know, it's not going to just jump overnight.
No, of course not. You know, believe it or not, you have to work to. We have to work extra hard to get where we want to get to. But take it from like most actors that you think like are prominent, you know, big actors, Hollywood actors. Like for me, I think I could be wrong. So if whoever's out there and Samuel L. Jackson listens, but like I think he was in his 40s when he scored Pulp Fiction. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I was listening to another podcast, one of my favorite like podcast networks, The Ringer. Right. It's like Bill Simmons, who's a really famous sports writer out in the States. And now he runs like, he used to work for like ESPN and stuff, but now he runs like a podcast like network, and they cover movies, TV, mainly sport, but like everything from Marvel to the NBA to the NFL to soccer, like football, you know. But I think he had Tarantino on one of his podcasts, and apparently Samuel L. Jackson like phoned in his first audition for Pulp Fiction, and like half-assed it because apparently the role was written for him, and he knew that, and he was like, "Yeah, I've got this." So apparently he half-assed it. Then Lawrence Fishburne came in and auditioned, and Quint apparently rings up Samuel L. and he's just like, "Yo, I got to give this part to Larry because Larry Fishburne just absolutely killed it." Samuel L. Jackson, apparently, the story goes, then like begs like Tarantino to like let him audition again, and he comes in and completely smacks it, and then we got, you know, English motherfucker, do you speak it? Like that. we got that whole, you know, and that sparked off God knows what inspiration for me. That speech was actually my audition speech for uni.
Right. Okay.
So I cut the breakfast scene into a monologue. Nice. And I basically just threatened Brett in the chair, like, and that's what got me into.
Do you still remember it?
I mean, not the way I cut it, but like the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides. Like I had to do all of that and stuff. And realistically, I only got to, because we only had, I think, when you audition for unis and theatre schools, they give you like 2 minutes of like a monologue. And this one was a monologue of my choice. So I think I only had 2 minutes. So I think I literally got up to the, does he look like a bitch? And then they said time. And that was the end of my monologue. But I'd obviously had done the whole hamburgers, big kahuna burger, like that whole scene. Nice. But yeah, like I say, that got me into uni. They were like thrilled with my audition. So I've had the bad motherfucker wallet since I was like 18. So I've kept it with me all these years, and I've like just keep buying the same wallet. And like, now it's got to a point where I have a backup one in my cupboard. So like when this one like deteriorates in the leather, I just change everything.
What did that film mean to you then? That Pulp Fiction.
It was just one of the films growing up. Like, it's one of many films and many inspirations I've taken over the years. Like, Samuel L. for me, one of my favourite actors. Like, don't get me wrong, Robin Williams, Matthew Perry. Like, rest in peace to him and Robin Williams, man. That really hurt me last year. Like, because these were, like I say, going private school, I didn't really have many friends unless I was driven to there. And like, my friends were the TV characters, and I could kind of lose myself in TV and film, and like I was always mimicking, you know, voices and like doing little skits, and even like mine and my sister's relationship is still based on quoting funny films to each other.
Yeah, and I think there was something with like Matthew Perry passing. There was something like that era of Friends. It was repeated so much on TV. You're 10 years younger than me, so I don't quite know what it was like for you. But for my era, it was repeated continuously. You couldn't put the TV on without seeing it there, and then it was on like Netflix and everything.
Oh
and,
yeah, and
you know, you could binge watch the whole 10 series again and again and again, and it's an easy watch, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, it's a safe watch.
I've got shows like that that I'll watch 3-4 times a year. Like I've got like a list of like 8 TV shows that I'll just recycle at least 3 times a year. I'm currently rewatching The Big Bang Theory again for like the third time this, like in my last like 18 months or so. But like you say, like I was still young enough to remember like watching like season 6 with my sister on TV and waiting for like
back
when
in
Ross
the day.
says Rachel, and then I'm just like,
and then it's a
shit.
week.
Yeah.
Oh no, that one when
That would have been like the season
end. Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
we had to wait like a year for are they gonna get married?
My
like,
kids don't get that. My kids don't get that weight of TV now.
They won't know because it's all there.
Yeah, you do get the wait for between seasons, of course, still, but the wait for each episode is very rare, isn't it?
Yeah, innit? Week to week. Like I remember like Friends back in the day, like one of the old like adverts that sponsored it was Nescafe, and don't know why that advert just sticks with me.
Sticks out.
Yeah, just because that's what I remember doing on like a Friday night, or or watching like a Fresh Prince rerun with my sister and stuff, and because that was.
But it made you feel like those people were part of your lives, didn't it?
100%, million percent. And I take that shit personally sometimes because when Matthew Perry died, that particularly hurt me just because of how much I resonated with Chandler Bing as a character. And for me, I had literally just finished Matthew Perry's audiobook. So there's some biographies like I like to listen to because I like to hear the people read them. Yes. Like I did Matthew McConaughey's as well, just because like that man.
Green Lights.
Green Lights, phenomenal. And just because that man's voice could sell ice to an Eskimo, man. Like he could sell ice to polar bears. That's.
Have you heard about his Calm app? Have you heard about the app Calm?
Nah.
No, there's
Is he doing Calm? Oh, yeah, I know Calm, yeah.
There's Calm, which is like a meditation app. But he does like bedtime stories on there.
Oh, shit, man. I gotta get on that. That's great.
Yeah. No, it's a big thing, actually.
I love
People
that.
are downloading Calm just for his
for Matty Mac?
Yeah, just for his bedtime stories.
Well, I don't blame
like,
him.
all right.
All right. That's brilliant, man. That's so sick.
It's time to get yourself in a bed.
You want to rest your pretty little head on that pillow.
That's it, and people love it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but some of these people, some of these stars like Matthew Perry, like you said, Robin Williams as well.
Yeah,
they were so influential in our lives.
100%.
You know, that it goes back to where the things that you want to achieve. You're like, okay, like if I can get to where, their level, where they are, and make an impact in the way that they did, that sounds pretty fulfilling, doesn't it?
Exactly. Like, because realistically, for me, like growing up, watching Robin Williams, Samuel L. Jackson, watching all these films like collaborated in my head, gangster movies. I used to love like, well, I still do, but like Goodfellas and the Batman films, even the ones with Clooney and like the nipples on the Batman, Batman. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger being like, "Nice to meet you," like all the bad puns and all of that. Like that was me as a kid. Like I just wanted to be these characters, and I wanted to be, and obviously, if they influence me like that, then that's what I want. And this goes back to me like trying to influence like the world positively. Like if I can be the inspiration to a kid that's just like me dreaming about it, then that's tick, that's job done. Because I think a lot of performers and a lot of actors will get into it for not only their self-fulfillment, but because of what it does for, kids around the world. Take Johnny Depp, for example. Like he goes to like Make-A-Wish hospitals and like terminal like kids and dresses up as Jack Sparrow and he does the whole whatever. But that's awesome. I think we just need more things like that to aspire to in life. Because there's a lot of bad shit going on in the world, and I don't think there's enough positivity talked about to spread it. Like with the homeless, with mental health, with all these people that are suffering. Like I just think everyone kind of needs a positive slap in the face sometimes. Yeah,
and having these conversations, talking about it, and letting everyone know out there that you're not alone. That we go through these things.
Definitely.
You've had hard times. Again, you might look at yourself, and someone might look in through through the window of social media and go, "That guy's successful. That guy's living a great life." Yeah. But today you've opened up about your troubles.
Of course.
Yeah, to help try and inspire and help others.
Literally, and I think that is why I'm just so open about it, because, like I said earlier on, like no one likes to talk about the bad shit. And I don't blame him. Like, if you don't want to share that, that's on you. But I know for a fact that if I've ever posted about my mental health or my self-harming on my Instagram and stuff like that, it hasn't happened every single time. But there's the odd occasion where like an ex-friend of mine, like an old friend of mine, or a past mate who I've lost contact with, will send me a DM and been like, seeing you talk about this has made me open up to my boyfriend or my mum or my dad or my sister, brother or someone, or has made me want to go to therapy and talk and like just thanks, And I'm not trying to like big myself up here or, be like Mother Teresa or nothing like that. But like it's not, I wouldn't say satisfying, but it's nice to know that my openness has helped someone, because that's the only reason I'm so open about it. Like, when I was growing up, like, there wasn't, blokes should be blokes, and you got to provide, and you got to be the man, and like, if you fall down, you should just get back up. And don't get me wrong, there's some aspects of life where I do believe that I do just have to pick myself up, or I should be the bloke, or I should just stand up for my life. If anyone like ask me for a fight or something, then well, yeah, I got to be a bloke here. I got to throw down. But at the same time, like, I do feel like getting in touch with your emotional side and your mental health is something that ain't done enough. And like, I'm no stranger to crying, man. Like, just sometimes it's just cathartic.
No, man, at times, men have been told you shouldn't cry.
100%.
And particularly men,
especially,
especially we're told that we've got to suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that sucking it up too much can be painful, can't it?
100%, and that's what eventually leads to, like, me. Like, I was drinking 24/7 at uni and self-harming. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying that, because everyone struggles, men, women, non-binary, however you identify, everyone goes through some shit. Everybody. And like, if you ain't, then you're lying. No disrespect, but you lying. And I just don't think there's enough of us that feel comfortable, number one, because it's not easy to just speak candidly about this. It really isn't. And for me, I don't know why I've always felt so comfortable talking about it. I don't know whether it's just my innate performer mindset of just like, yeah, it's no different.
Do you know what I'm getting from you? I'm getting from that you can see it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, because
yeah,
I didn't have anyone.
It's important for that maybe that one person that listens to this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, you're doing it for that one person.
That's
that
it, man.
Can make a difference.
Because I didn't have that one person. I didn't have I didn't really grow up with mad social media because I'm 93, so like the internet didn't really come mental like Windows 95. That was, do you know what I mean? Like dial up.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like trying to
Windows
play
ME.
Yeah. XP 2004 for me with the blue background and the green taskbar.
AOL dial up.
Bro, that shit was mind blowing. There's a green taskbar and and you could like have separate usernames. Raw. Like that as a kid, I was like, shit. That blew my mind. Now, like, I barely use a laptop. I've actually just bought one because I bought one in Black Friday. I didn't get a chance to open it until like Christmas though because like, I've been so busy. But it's the first time in about, I'd say, my uni year. So we're talking nearly 10 years where I've had a laptop that actually works properly.
Yes.
My old laptop was just basically.
Well, you can do so much on your phone now, can't you? Like the technology's just exploded, hasn't it?
Everything. I literally bought the laptop because if I eventually. Well, it's just a bit cleaner to have something a bit more professional.
Yes, yeah.
And like,
well, it depends what you're doing. Like, so for me, like I've got a laptop for video editing.
Of course,
you can do. Amazingly, you can do some of it on your phone.
Yeah,
but it's not. Not to the level. Yeah, and it's to do with the size and the functionality of it as well.
Yeah, and exactly. Like I've always like tried to buy my phone as well. Like luckily, I'm in a position to do that. Just because like I feel like for me, like I have so many self tapes and. Because COVID really did like casting directors a massive favour.
Yes.
Like, it was going that way anyway in the industry.
Yeah,
like,
I'd done a couple of pre-COVID. I'd done a couple of self-tapes.
Same.
And I'd got all the equipment. I'd actually got all the equipment there to do
tripod, ring light, the whole nine.
Yeah, but it wasn't done every time.
No, there was still a lot of
in person. Whereas now,
pretty much everything.
Yeah,
it's rare I'm called in. For an in-person audition. I actually had one at the start of the year, which again, can't say much about, but if I get it, then it'll be massive. So I'm hoping that everything that's holy, I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically like, it's the first time where I've actually felt like I smashed an audition. And I think because a lot of the roles I get cast for are, the big guy. And I just feel like my physicality and my presence, like,
you got to lean into who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't show that from a camera.
No.
Don't get me wrong, I can because I've had work. But
the other problem as well is I may be wrong, but I don't believe that you're getting the full opportunity. I can almost see it like they're asking. Back in the day when you went to an audition, there may have been 100 people seen in that day. Whereas now they're seeing 1,000 people in a day.
Oh, plus, yeah.
And I bet they're looking at 5 seconds of your tape, if not that.
Exactly.
They're going, no, look, does he look right at that moment? Nope, click, gone. But, so all that work that you put into it, all that, you know, all that time and energy.
Retakes and
Yeah.
having to worry about, like, because some of my mates, like, having to worry, like...
So it's great for the agents.
Yeah.
Great for the casting directors.
Not as great for us.
But not as great for the artists, for their opportunities.
Of course. But I do still believe, like, things are better as performers now than they've ever have been. Like, the strike last year, obviously, with the advances in AI and... Like, I can't lie, I was scared. Because, like, when you hear about the Americans going on strike, like, you know something's got to be up. Like, when Hollywood shuts down, it's just like, damn. Like, because the writers obviously had a strike as well. So, it was like, this is the first time in however many years. And, like I say, luckily, last year for me was really busy despite all that. But, you know, things shut down, especially for, I found with background work, like supporting artist stuff, extra stuff. A lot of the American like programs and things like that, like there's new studios popping up everywhere. Yeah. And a lot of the American shows are filmed over here.
Yeah, we've got a new studio being built over here, a new Apple studio for Apple TV is being built over here. We've got Warner Brothers studio over here.
There's one for Sky as well that's being built. And there's one in Waltham Cross. So obviously I live in Hoddesdon, so
we are in a great country for getting involved with the film industry.
Definitely.
The UK is great.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of American mates of mine that have come over because the opportunities over here are generally quite decent.
Yeah.
I can imagine a lot of them say that.
This is like the real Hollywood is actually over in the UK. Yeah. It's actually like East London, West London. You know, that's where it is really happening.
Yeah, it's more character, right? It's where like you see all these quirky things. And don't get me wrong, like, I love London as a city. Like, absolutely love it. And I've done a little bit of travelling in the States, but there is something about London which just, I don't know, just kind of hits you in the face a little bit different. I think there's something about the British, like, it's just, I don't know what it is. We've got something.
Well, there's something in the work ethic, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit more blue collar, perhaps, but yeah, no, I definitely feel like you say, like, this is my big thing.
The opportunities are here.
Yeah.
If you want them,
of course, if you want them, you can
go and get them.
Which is great. And I considered doing a master's, actually, a postgrad out in the States at one point. Because I'm in love with Chicago, like since my youth, since watching Space Jam for the first time and finding out the best basketball player in the world was also called Mike. Like, that just sparked my love for basketball, the Chicago Bulls, and consequently the city, Chicago itself. And I didn't actually visit until I was like 25. But like, you know, when you build something up in your head and when you go, it ain't that great. For me, Chicago was the opposite.
Right. Okay.
I went and I was just like, damn, I need to live here yesterday. Like, I need to, wherever it is, I need to go. And like, obviously, shout out to Chicago. Like, it's an amazing city. And obviously, I got to a point where I went out there, I auditioned, and the guys who were obviously running, so I went to audition for DePaul University, which is like one of the biggest theatre schools out there. And it would have been a 3-year MFA, like Masters in Fine Arts. But I went, did my audition, killed it, felt really good. And obviously then afterwards they set you down one-on-one for like a little Q&A. No different to kind of how we're just chatting informally right now, but there was 3 of them in the table and you just kind of spoke. So for me, they were just like, so, you're British? I was just like, yeah. This is like, why have you come 3,000 miles to be here? And I was just like, honestly, this sounds dumb, but I've been in love with this city since before I even knew what this city was like. And obviously, like, I to sweet talk it a little bit. I was like, the course looks great, and it did, you know. And I think like I would really be able to build as a performer here, and not just that, just build as a human. And eventually, I got shortlisted. They basically said to me, like, if one of the American students doesn't pick us as priority, you know how like we've got UCAS over here, and you have the choices. Same there. They have a similar sort of thing. So it's like if none of them pick us as our first choice, then you're in. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but realistically, I'd have finished my MFA probably around age 29, and if I had gone out there for 3 years, I would have had an amazing time, of course, but I wouldn't have been in Top Boy, number one, you know, massive Netflix show. I wouldn't have been, you know, for the 5-6 seconds I'm in that. I wouldn't have got Gangs of London, because that was another extras job I did that eventually somehow managed to parlay into a feature and an on-screen death.
It sounds like to me like the things that sometimes go slightly a little bit wrong or not how you want them to go, they actually start to work out. Yeah. I
feel like I'm not like super religious or anything, but you know, being raised as a Greek Orthodox Christian, like I kind of, you know, I believe in God and I believe there's a higher power up there, and
definitely, yeah.
Whether it's God quintessentially or whether he or she is running game, or I don't know, whether it's like, I'm talking to Zeus and Hercules, whoever it is, like whoever's up there or whatever's up there, I like to think that it is just part of the plan. And don't get me wrong, I know I'll probably get some shade for like, if there's a God, then why is there disaster? Why is there like child slavery, like all this bad shit in the world? Why is that? And I was like, you know what, I can't answer that. Maybe if I get up to heaven, and I'll ask him. But realistically, for me personally, it's just how I kind of semblance myself, and it's kind of how I get through. Like, you know, call it karma, whatever it is. Sometimes stuff doesn't work out because other stuff is coming, and you just kind of have to be patient. And if you carry on cracking on like you do, then the good things will come. And I have tried to live by that, you know, motto, if you will, like my whole life. You know, just do you, and things will come and things will happen. Yes, it's terrible when bad stuff happens. It's terrible that I had to go through self-harm as a, 17, 18-year-old. It's terrible that I had to feel the need to do that kind of stuff. It's terrible that we all go through heartbreak, we go through loss, we go through death, we go through all these things. But at the same time, we're all blessed to be here, and we're all lucky that we still get to be around people we love and, still be genuine and still have good vibes and good times. Like this right here. Like this has been, exhilarating for me. Like
it is nice.
It's good.
I'm loving it, mate.
Same, man. I'm enjoying chopping it up.
We've just met and we're sitting here and
literally, and
gone through your whole life story,
chatting like we've been mates for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful.
I think that speaks to both of us as people, but just to how anyone can just be anyone. It's one of the things I love about the industry, because everyone.
It takes a little while to get to that as well, though. Like,
definitely,
discovering who you are may not happen overnight, and I think for me, it didn't quite happen for a long time. I think it's only a recent thing for me.
Yeah,
it's discovering who I am and what I'm about, and this podcast is like a big thing of who I am and what I'm about now.
What do you feel like was like one of the main? Because for me, like it was finding like lifting and finding some confidence in myself that actually made me think like, you know what, maybe I'm not perceived as the guy that could just murder everyone in the room. Maybe I am just the bubbly person that my mates, because face value, like you see me, you're going to cross the street. But, but if I'm like in my sweats and I contemplate wearing trainers, but I'm out here in like my sliders and my socks.
Yeah. Just being you.
Being my authentic self.
Yes, yeah.
I'm out, like I say this to my partner all the time, like one of these days, if I do get famous and we're together, like, you're going to be all glammed up and I'm going to look like a homeless person. But
because you're going to still be you.
Yeah, but you know what? She's like, I kind of love that about you. And I was just like, yeah, I kind of love that about me too. Like, nice. I'm just me. Yeah. And that's when I kind of clocked, like, I was comfortable enough in my own skin. When do you feel like you were, like you say, like...
I think I had to go through like a dark period. I had to go through, my wife had cancer really badly. She's been ill for 10 years, but it got really bad. Just as COVID was finishing her cancers. And there was this period of time where I didn't know it at the time, but there was like this big black cloud that was constantly over me. Yeah. It was depression, it is what it was.
Of course.
I felt like death was following me around, and I think I absolutely had to break as a person. I tried to be so strong for her and for my kids as well that I wasn't breaking down. But then once it was over, once she was better, she's not going to be. She's not fully better, but the worst of it is over,
which is good.
But once that was over, and that chapter had ended, then I was like, I just had to then just breathe and collapse and have my crisis moment, have my dark moment, have my dark time. And I'd say that kind of lasted for about a year and a half, and I had to get lost. Didn't know where I was. I assessed everything, looked at all the failures I'd had in the last 20 years and all the things that I've not succeeded. And I had to have a moment of just being lost.
And I think sometimes like you need that. Like, firstly, like I'm sorry you've ever had to go through that, because...
Well, we do all have tough times. We all do have different things, don't we?
Exactly. And like, for anyone that's hurting, like I hope whatever it is, you're healing as well. Like I hope something can heal you and you find some solace in something. But like you say, like I feel like despite that being, horrible and terrible to go through, like you say, I feel like you have to sometimes get lost in yourself to come out the other side. Yeah. It's cliche, but like for me, my rock bottom was university, like, cutting my face with a razor blade, like like a regular just Gillette, like that I used to shave my head, like is cutting up my face. And like there's a lyric that I wrote to myself a few years ago. It gained a bit of traction on my TikTok, and I started that in COVID just because I was bored and I needed something to manifest my singing stuff, and I still run it today. So, but I threw up a cover, and one of the lyrics was like, what did I write? I said, I never slit my wrist, but used to fuck my face up. And like, I know that shit's messed up, but you have to kind of hear it. I'm paraphrasing myself a little bit, but like, it was never a case of like, for me, like that was rock bottom, you know?
I'm gonna go and seek out a bit more of your music. Where do I find it?
To be honest, there's nothing like officially.
Are you not putting stuff out on like SoundCloud or anything?
I want to.
So what's stopping you?
Honestly, it's having the knowledge to produce. So one of my all-time best mates from back in the day, there's a group of 3 of us. My mate Rob and my mate Sam, we were all kind of in like school band together. And like, you know, into house music, just doing silly stuff. And we've been like the closest of mates for, you know, however long we've been the mates, you know, 10, 20 years. So my mate Rob, amazingly talented guy. Shout out Rob and shout out Sam. He's between here and Los Angeles because he went out there to do his masters in, his masters was in, and he'll probably correct me or scrutinize me if I'm wrong for saying this, but composing for film and like scores, like scoring for film. But Rob's brain is brilliant because he can write all these luscious soundtracks and these beautiful like contemporary scores that you'll hear in like a Scorsese film or in like something visually brilliant, you know. But then he can also like help me produce a hip hop EP. And we did have a little time where we started writing some stuff like where we were in between sixth form and uni and trying to figure out what was going on. But realistically, we never put anything out because I think we both kind of felt that was poignant for the time, who we were as people. Now, though, we are adamant of getting back in the studio and throwing some work together and actually trying to get my voice like heard and trying to get his music and our music that we create
Sounds
together.
like it's the time to do it.
It is, and I feel like we're both ready.
Yeah.
And like I say, at the moment, like we're just trying to book some time in.
Just organise it.
100%.
Pick a date.
Literally.
Get it done.
That is it. And obviously, I'm trying to catch him before he goes back to Los Angeles. For a couple of months.
Because it's a blessing to have these people in your life, you know?
I'm so lucky because all like my closest mates are either in the industry or, you know, in well support of someone who is or in that kind of vibe. But like I say, like we started creating and then we just kind of were like, you know what? Like it just weren't for us. But that is one of my goals this year, actually try and put a single out or put something out. But at the moment, like I say, I've just been running my TikTok up. It's at Big Man Sings. Like Big Man Sings.
Yeah.
But basically, I just use it.
All tags below in this video. We'll make sure they're all down there.
And yeah, it's just literally just me sitting at the piano doing some acoustic covers, and then on Instagram every year, sometimes I'll throw up a slightly larger video of me just rapping. And this actually started in COVID. It was New Year's Eve in COVID, so what 2020, I guess. And it was just me venting in my bedroom like I'd done so many times. But the difference was this time was just me talking about the year. And eventually that's now developed into something I do every single year. New Year's Eve, I sit there and just kind of chat about how my year's gone. I call it the wrap up.
Nice, yeah.
And because it's, you know, it's just the wrap up of the year and like what's gone on. So anything music wise at the moment is just literally on my Insta or on my TikTok. And I don't post as much as I should, but obviously work, life, things get in the way. But it is definitely something I'm actively working towards. For me, like the music's kind of had to take a bit of a backseat just because I've been doing well with the performance and the acting.
When you are an entertainer in many different fields, like juggling some balls sometimes, isn't it? And
100%.
like sometimes you've got to put one ball down while you concentrate on the others because otherwise, like you can't do them all at once, can you?
Exactly. But for me, in my heart, like I always know that I can always go back to that. That's another reation why I bought the laptop, is because eventually I just want to start running my own interface and start producing some of my own stuff. And like I say, I'm not Dr. Dre. Like I'm not Rick Rubin. I'm not one of these great producers out here of hip hop. But for me, like I just want to have a knowledge myself so I can, you know, kind of like understand that and just have a bit of a, like when my people, if I ever go into producing a booth and stuff, like when the guys are doing what they're doing, I just want to be able to have a cognitive understanding of that. And I think just for me, it's like, it's no different to me going to theatre school or going to drama and getting my drama degree to learn my craft more, you know? I just want to be able to, you know, sharpen every tool in my toolbox, as it were.
Nice, yeah.
But yeah, music is definitely coming.
Good.
But yeah, like I say, I'm just out here just trying to make sure that
Mate,
everyone.
it sounds
is all
like good
and
things are coming for you. I can, it sounds like you're on the path to something.
definitely.
What that is, I don't know. No one knows.
No.
But ain't that the part of the adventure?
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
That
you don't know
is-
exactly what it is, but you're moving in the right direction.
Definitely, and I think one of the key things, if there's one bit of advice I'll say for like anyone, like in the industry, or and sometimes I'll need to take this advice myself, but like, don't compare yourself to where everyone else is, because you're on your own path, and take it from a performer standpoint. You might not get that big audition, but you might get the next one. Your best mate might get something. That's the other thing as well. Be happy for people's success. Like root for your people, scream for your people, because it's free. It costs nothing, and if anything, it's just throwing some good shit back out there because it could come back and hit you in a good way. Do you know? So like, I think there's a Kendrick Lamar interview from years ago, and he's just like, he says, again, I think I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me, K-Dot, but he's like, I hope all my dogs make it, even if it's before me. Mm-hmm. And I'm exactly the same, man. Like,
Well, this goes back to like the beginning of this conversation. I wanted to see where your CrossFit and your entertainment industry work that you're doing, where it all merges and fits.
Yeah.
And I think we found it. I think that we found that it's in the community.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's in with the people that are around you.
100%.
I've experienced that with this. I wouldn't be raised up to where I'm going and where I got to so far if it wasn't for the people that are around me, wasn't for my community. And I think you need to sometimes ask those people in your community for help.
Definitely.
Don't you?
Don't ever stray from your friends.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, even probably 10 times out of 10, like, your friends will be the ones that pull you through that situation.
And they were for me.
Yeah, same.
They were for me. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without them.
No, yeah, God, 100%. Like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for some of my closest friends, and they know who they are as well. Mm-hmm. But like, everyone that I ever come into contact with, like yourself in the industry, I can always try and take something positive out of every encounter I have, because I think at the end of the day, I've just always loved meeting new people and just bringing some kind of energy to people. Nice. That's what the whole big thick energy is about, and that's how I've tried to model myself my whole life. Don't get me wrong, I ain't perfect. Yeah, there's days where I'm gonna feel bad, or there's days where I could snap at my parents, or someone I love, or my friends. I could have beef with someone, but I'll always try and just stay true to me. And you know what, that's okay. Sometimes you're gonna get into shit with people, and that's just how it is. But as long as you can acknowledge that you're wrong, or acknowledge that you were in the wrong for the certain situation, then I feel like, all is forgiven. It's one of those things where, like, as long as you can kind of keep spreading positivity, and, the good stuff kind of outweighs the bad sometimes. And like I say, I'm not condoning anything, but no one's perfect. But as long as you're just trying to do the right thing, I don't think anyone can really fault you for that. That's it. Really.
That's beautiful. It's been really nice, Mike.
Thanks, man.
I feel like we've gone full circle here.
Agreed. No,
yeah, this has been really lovely. I really appreciate you joining me and sharing.
Man. I'd love to do this again as well, man.
Yeah, and I think we are going to do it again. I think if anything, we're coming back in a year from now.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, we'll see what's up.
And I was going to have one question for you, but I've got 2 last questions for you. So
hit me.
You, in a year's time from now, okay,
yeah.
What are you going to say to yourself?
You made it. You're here. Be thankful wherever it is you are. If you're famous, if you're not famous, if you're one step ahead, if you got another job, or if you've got something good, if you've still got good people around you and good things going on, that's all you can ask for. So like to 2025, Mike, I'll be approaching 32. If I'm married, if I'm got kids, if I'm doing good things still, if I'm still talking the same shit I'm still talking, and if I'm turning up to things in socks and sliders and a baggy t-shirt, there's not much more I can really ask for, man.
Lovely.
That's it.
Now I'm dialing that time machine back.
Hit me.
Right, and we're going to go back to that kid that was struggling. Yeah?
Do you know what? And I think I said this when I made it to 30, but if I could go back to, that chubby kid with no self-esteem, who had some mad self-loathing going on and didn't like anything about himself. If I could go back there, I'd give him a massive hug and say, bro, it's going to be cool. Don't worry. I know it seems terrible right now, But the second thing I'd do is I'd thank him. Because without that kid, without his struggle, and without going through what he had to go through, you do not see what's in front of you, sitting across from you, talking this talk and being positive and spreading love. And without him, there's no Big Thick Energy. There's no Mike. There's no Michael. There is no Michael Christopher Coumas. There isn't. Because he laid the foundations for what became what I am. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to say in a year's time, in 10 years' time, I'd like to look back at me and give myself a hug and be like, thanks, because I made it. I'm here. But to that kid back there who was, drinking, cutting himself, hating himself, trying to just get through life and get over whatever he was getting over, all I can say is it's cool and I love you and thank you, because without you, we wouldn't still be here.
Nice. Thanks, that's beautiful.
Love.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mike. Appreciate you.
Love,
Cheers, mate. It's been lovely.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Brilliant.
Thanks, man.
That was the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. I appreciate you joining us for this conversation. If you'd like to find out more about the BTS Creative Academy, just search BTS Creative Academy. And so that you don't miss out on any future conversations, don't forget to like and subscribe.